Okay, guys, good morning. Angie Peppers here. So I was just gonna do a real quick segment here. I'm gonna be using my own yard as a perfect example of setting up your landscaping. Mind you, I just moved into this house with a much bigger yard. As you can see there, I didn't measure it. I don't know how big it is, but I want to say it's a pretty good size. The reason why I wanted to use myself as an example is because since we're March, spring's already practically here in Texas. It's actually already here. We got some things that are blooming. The house that I used to live at, it had a lot of concrete in the backyard. I hardly had any space and any grass or soil. I did a lot of container growing. There's nothing wrong with doing container growing. I'm real old school container growing. You can use, look at that, the 5-gallon example, Lowe's. I had American Red Cross here from the Memorial Floods. If you guys remember, here in Central Texas, I kept the bucket. And I have this cayenne pepper planted in there. I do excuse it's very messy, very out of place. But this is a very good example of your landscaping. And those of you guys that love gardening, I'm taking this opportunity just to do a real quick segment on how to set up your plants and everything. Now, with me, I love all kinds of plants. As you know, most of my plants have been in pots. And there's, like I said, nothing wrong with that for you people that live in small places, apartments, or duplexes, or somewhere where you don't have much room. You can do container growing. You just amend your own soils. Number one thing that I wanted to point out to you guys is when you are going to be gardening and looking over your lawns and yards and backyards and things like that, what I like to do is what you call basic equipment, basic tips to get you started. So basically, this is kind of like a beginner's segment on for those that you're wanting to set up your backyard for the first time and you want to start introducing your backyard with plants and whatnot. The number one thing I would say is try to stick with natives. Try to stick with plants that you can easily grow, that have adapted to your area. Here in my area, I'm in zone 8B. I'm up here in Central Texas, right in between San Antonio and Austin. So the soil, it's a lot of clay, a lot of limestone, but it's okay. You can still work with it. So real quick, I don't want to take too much time on this segment, but for those that are beginning, and for example, like me, I'm kind of beginning because I'm in a new yard. I want to continue to do container growing. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to put in a couple of plants in the yard. I want to attract this yard to birds. Now, I've noticed that when I first moved in, I started noticing a bunch of little birds curious. This yard was completely empty. There was nothing in here. The next door neighbors have little bird houses set up. I love birds. Birds are very beneficial to your yard. They eat the bad bugs and I just love birds. So we've got a lot of birds, cardinals. I've seen some titmouse birds. I've seen mockingbirds, and depending on what area you live in. So I want to attract birds to my yard, and I want to attract pollinators. I want to be able to attract butterflies, other types of insects, honeybees and things like that. I want them to be able to come into this yard. So it's kind of like a department store. You kind of want to set up your yard to where you have your pollinating, your plants. In this case, like I said, in this region that I live, I'm going to have some Pride of Barbados. This is a type of plant. You can look it up if you like. Pride of Barbados, these are in containers, but I'm going to be taking some of them out and planting them into the ground. I want to have some of those. Those are real good attractors to butterflies and things like that. I don't remember, let me see, where my basil is. Honeybees love basil. Again, excuse the mess. I'm just getting set up. I got some basil here that I just kind of trimmed up a little bit. Another native plant out here. You got some flamingo. I got some white. And then I got some blue that's going to get started up. So to setting up your yard and all that, Again, you can do container planning. What I like to do is to the supplies that you'll need basically to start your garden or your lawns and things like that. I got me a clipboard. Basically, I kind of drew out. You want to draw out your yard to see what you have. See, this is very basic. Kind of what I want to do. See that? I want to kind of put a chicken coop over there. See that over that tree? My plan is to probably put a little chicken coop there, maybe some raised beds over there by where that trailer is. You kind of want to have a visual of what you want to do. So basically, you want to start off by doing like basically like kind of like a blueprint of what you want to do. Got the little bird bath there going, and got the little bird feeder there. It's going to be attracting those birds in. These container plants, you always want to keep a master. You want to keep a master container, because in case I decide that I don't want to live here anymore or I want to do something like that, you could always do that. But like for example, this crown of Christ that I have right here, this is the mother. And I've taken and propagated it, and I put it into little pots. So I'm going to keep probably the mother in the pot. I'm going to get one of the babies, and then I'm going to find a place where I'm going to stick it into the ground. And then that way I will always have the master. In this case, this is one of my grandmother's, one of my great aunt's plants, so I don't want to lose this plant. But you can make babies out of it. The same thing with oleander. See, I cut some oleander, made some cuttings. I'm going to put some in the ground. I'm going to keep the master. You always want to keep the master. Some of the basic supplies that I would ask if you're going to start off, some lawn furniture. You're going to want some lawn furniture. Where are you going to want to place it and things like that. Second thing is, I have a station set up right here, but again, I'm working on it. Gets you some of your pots that you're going to want. Get you a table. Have yourself a table. In this case, I have this bucket full of perlite. I see a little bird up there. He's just being curious. Get yourself, a table to set up where you're going to be doing your transplants. I'm going to do a lot of transplants and repotting. Like I said, spring is here. You're going to want probably like a bucket or some sort of where you can start amending your soils. Like it's kind of like a little station here. You don't have to do it, but this is something that I want to have. So where I can start mixing in the soils, your then the next thing that I would suggest for if you're going to start gardening and you do a lot of gardening and things like that, compost bin. It doesn't have to be this kind, but have a compost bin going with a little station right here. Your scraps from inside and things like that. So a good compost maker. Got a little station here again because my yard now I'm able to do that. So there's a lot to work here. See, as you notice right here, I put in a bougainvillea, which is also considered a native plant around here in this region. I went ahead and tried it out with the soil. It looks like she's liking it here. I went ahead and put her in the soil. As soon as there's new growth, so I'm going to do some cuttings. So that I can get some babies out of this one. This is very abundant around here because it's native. So if I wanted to, I can go ahead and go buy some more. But it looks like she's taking good here. And this is going to be in the backyard here. So she looks like she liked it. Looks like there's more flowers that are developing, a little bit of growth. So there's still a lot to do. A lot to do here to set up. But again, some of the supplies that I would recommend for you to have is if you're going to be a regular doing gardening and things like that, landscaping in your home, I would suggest for you to have yourself a compost bin. There's a lot of YouTube videos. You can make your own. So long as there's air and heat and you circulate the layers. I'll be doing more segments on how to compost. Get you some pots. Craigslist, OfferUp. You can use any kind of pots. Like I said, look at that. See, I like to use the 5-gallon pots. Regular pots. Have yourself a station where you're going to be transplanting, getting your plants ready and all that. And then you start selecting your plants as what you want. So I'm going to be doing some repotting. So the number one thing is, if you are somebody that likes to attract birds, get you a bird feeder, get you a bird bath in your backyard, and then start researching your area, depending on where you live, the types of plants that you can use that will attract your butterflies and your honeybees and things like that. There's so much going on here. Everything's out of place. Everything's messy. Transplanting, repotting. I'm going to be growing some things out of seeds. But this is just like a quick segment. Get your soils ready. Any type of soil that you want, whether you order it online, you go to your local nurseries. I prefer nurseries. Everything is just much more organic. You pick your plants and everything, and you want to pick the placement of where you're going to want to put like I said, everything's everywhere right now because like I said, I just moved. Thinking about keeping some of my cactus there. Kind of be a little organized. kind of want to keep I want to keep kind of the species a little bit similar and in the same spots. Got my purple shamrocks here, if you notice. I just like this area right here. Get you little tables, little stands. You could use whatever you want. You could use pallets. In this case, you see this washboard, this wash tub. We put some succulents in there. This one's going to be moving. Also, another tip and a good thing that you might want to look into as well. Look at the sun. Kind of, year off weekends or whatever. Kind of check out your backyard. Kind of figure out, north, south, east, west, southwest. South is where there's going to be a whole lot more sun. So that way you can know where you place your plants. Especially if you have plants that don't require too much sun. You want to be closer to the porch area, somewhere where there's not a lot of sunlight. So before you start placing your plants, try to research and find out where the sun casts the most. Where is there more shade? Because you want to know where you're going to place your plants. It's very, very important what kind of plants you're going to have. If you're going to want to attract pollinators, honeybees, butterflies, things like that. What kind of plants, the colors. In this case, I kind of have multiple colors. I love reds. Got my pulumbango over there. It's going to be blooming whites and blues over there by that bird bath. So everything's going to be cleaned up here. I just wanted to use myself as an example. Get yourself a station where you're going to be amending your soils, what types of soil you're going to be using, repotting, things like that. Inside that little washroom area, I got a little area where I do my germination of seeds, because if you're germinating seeds, growing things from seeds, you want to kind of keep them covered, or you want to keep them safe. I don't like to put seeds in pots and then just leave them outside, because squirrels and other rodents could come in and turn over your pots. Also, look to see where the sun is shining, where there's the most sun, where there's morning sun, so that way you can know, kind of do a blueprint where you kind of know what you're gonna put, where you're gonna put it. Like that, for example, that bougainvillea back there, I put it right by the fence. You notice that? Because what that plant is going to do, it's going to branch itself out and it's going to catch itself on that fence. And that's precisely what I want. You can put some pots, plants around trees if you'd like. You could use little tables and things to set up, little shelves. You can make your own. I made this little bench out of pallets. You can use that, or you can leave your things, put them on the edge, put them in pots or however you want. This is the perfect time to start, to pick your plants, pick your trees, whatever you want, pick the locations, figure out the type of sun and everything, where the sun shines the most. You want to be careful, because these plants, I have a variety. This crown of Christ, for example, she loves a lot of sunlight, so it's not going to matter where I put her. But oleander, the same thing. They're very drought resistant. They don't care. They like a lot of sunlight. This one I made out of cuttings. Like I said, pick your plants, what types of plants you're gonna like. I would go with native plants. Pick your areas where you're gonna want to place things. Like I said, I want a bird bath, a bird feeder. I'm gonna be putting a chicken coop back there somewhere. Like I said, chicken poop is very, very good for fertilizers and amending your soils. Pick your transplanting and planting little station. Build yourself a little station in this area. See how I found a little area here where I have some more of my gardening tools. I might not even keep them here, but so you got yourself a little wagon right here, buckets, different types of pods for different uses. If I'm gonna still be doing container growing and things like that, you don't have to, but this is just my little station. Got myself a little trailer there if I want to haul my little plants and things around. I got more little shelves and things, so much more to do. Probably hang some little bird houses, attract more little birds into this neighborhood. Probably put a little burn pit, so it's beautiful and it's nice here. It's exciting. So those of y'all that are moving in somewhere, or you're wanting to take up gardening or something, this is a perfect time to get started in the beginning of the spring. Get yourself some hanging plants and figure out where you're going to be hanging your plants and things like that. You can use tree branches. You can use like little levers over there. See how I have that spider plant, air plant over there hanging. Spider plant, sorry. Types of buckets you're going to use. You could basically use anything. Coffee cans, the plastic ones. They don't make the aluminum ones anymore, even though I love those too because they were so old school. Types of plants you want. And then this is how you get started. I'm going to be doing some trimming and cutting, so I got my my recycling bin there for the cuttings and stuff. my wheelbarrow. Get yourself a wheelbarrow. You want to be hauling off some soils and things like that, some shovels and things like that. So hopefully this segment kind of gives you an idea if you're planning on gardening or planning to start up a landscaping. Some stepping stones, all of these things, what kind, squared, circled, whichever ones you like, and then we'll go from there. So hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of where to get started. Get you some pruners. If you're going to be pruning, you can get them anywhere. I like mine. It's really old-fashioned and I don't want to get rid of it. I do some trimming. For example, like, you see how I have this ornamental plant. It's basically pretty much, there's still some life on it. You can trim it. Have yourself some alcohol, because you want to be wiping it every so often to sanitize it. You don't want viruses to be spreading. And see, again, here I have my little station in here where some plant food, alcohol to clean, my pruners, some root hormone. If those of y'all that want to take up cuttings and doing prunings and stuff, you can use some root hormone and things like that. That's where I do my germination. So hopefully this segment helps you guys. Keep an eye, like I said, throughout the day where the sun shines the most and where you're going to place your plants. So you could basically use anything. See that spool there that I use? So I'm going to fix this yard up and then I'll give y'all an update. So hopefully this was helpful to y'all. If you have any questions, y'all can inbox me, send me a comment or whatever. So yes, you guys have a good one. Angie Peppers out.